going live. And we are live on YouTube. And hello?
Do you want me to turn my camera on?
Hey, hold on. Yeah, turn it on.
Yeah? Okay, hold on. I'll turn on my camera, but I'm going to have to turn off some other stuff. So can you give me a second?
All right, we are live. I like it.
Okay, great. You want to talk about this EpiPen stuff?
I want to try. We've got about 10 minutes, so we can talk about it, or we can schedule a different time. Up to you. Got like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have enough time today. I think we should just kind of just chill and just see if this thing works first, and then we can kind of go into it. Because last time we spent like, 42 minutes like working on something, and it turned out it was shit.
I want to see what this is going to look like after it's available. And then after it's available, I want to be able to see, because if it's available, and I mean, this could actually be a really great hangout, because what we could do at that point is we can download this through YouTube to my computer, and then I could re-upload it to Facebook.
Yeah, you're still your quality's still a little jerky. I'm not sure what's going on.
My quality?
Yeah, you're occasionally a little bit jerky.
Yeah,
You're a little better now, but you also look kind of blurry. I don't know what's going on.
I think it's adjusting the buffering stuff. I mean, how blurry is it? Because you look good to me.
Well, I did actually just get my beard trimmed today, so that helps a little bit.
The beard, yeah, definitely enhances the resolution. That's for sure.
Good old fucking Haley.
In terms of the EpiPen controversy, which we could potentially talk about tomorrow when I'm back home, if you'll be free.
I need to do some research on it, because I literally have just recently heard about it, so I don't really feel like I know enough to be able to comment on. Can you kind of give me an overview of like how this happened?
Well, basically how this happened is essentially what the deal behind the controversy is that the manufacturer Mylan acquired EpiPen in 2007 from a company called Merck Serono in Germany. They also at one time manufactured chemicals to kill Jews during the Holocaust. It's a separate matter.
Wait, hold on a second. Were those the same people that created that chemical called Zyklon B?
I'm not sure, but I probably don't want to read into it, because they happen to be an occasional client, and I would feel very uncomfortable working for them if I knew something like that.
Anyways.
Good question, though. Thank you very much, Hirak, for the question. So in terms of what the controversy is about, basically, the manufacturer Mylan acquired this in 2007, and over the course of, I guess, 10 years almost, raised the price of the product without really incurring any additional R&D costs, given the fact that it's costs $2 or $3 to make each pen. Went from costing $50, list price, to $600 list price. Now, what list price is?
Would you agree that it's a similar situation to what happened that drug Daraprim, whatever?
Yeah, so it's similar but a little bit different, because Daraprim was effectively there's no competitors really out for it, and basically, yeah, they took the same approach with it and did that. In terms
Okay.
of what that means, from the perspective of what they did, like they're trying to justify it by saying that, wholesalers and retail pharmacies and insurance companies, actually, I wouldn't even really call it insurance companies. I would just call it group purchasing organizations and wholesalers. Basically, what they are is they're the ones who are acquiring the medicine, right? And ultimately, every time it goes through a channel, wholesale and retail pharmacies, they have a markup on it. So in other words, if like let's say if the consumer at the retail store is paying like $600, let's say, for, first of all, when the CEO was giving the interview, now that I think about it, she wasn't even using the right terms. So when the consumer is paying $600 for, let's say, the EpiPen, whether that's being paid by insurance or not, doesn't matter. The point is $600 coming out of pocket for a consumer. Then a certain percentage of that is going to the pharmacy. The certain percentage of that is going to the wholesaler who distributed to the pharmacy. And then from there, whatever is remaining goes back to the manufacturer. So it's like the channels, as it goes actually to the consumer, have markups. And that's essentially how Mylan is justifying their price increase by saying that, the pharmacies and the wholesalers have been increasing their fees. Truth of the matter is, it's probably not true. Truth of the matter is, it probably happened the way that it happened is that they realized they could jack up the price of it, given the fact that, the customer base, basically there's no alternative to EpiPen right now.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there was one in the process, but its patent's also about to expire, so that's another reason why they did it.
Okay.
Justify it however they want to, but at the end of the day, it's a price increase, and the price increase, how does it affect patients at the end of the day? They increased a lot of discount programs now, so basically like copay assistance. I don't know how much it's actually going to impact patients compared to how much it was impacting them already.
Mm-hmm.
That speaks to the fact that the pharmaceutical industry can effectively do whatever they want with prices in the United States, and nobody can contain them. Something that in any other country would not be allowed.
Does the government have any authority to regulate these prices right now?
Not in the United States, no.
What about what happens in other countries? Like why in other countries do they not like jack up the prices like that? They're not allowed to?
Because in other countries, they won't let you do that. In some countries, they don't even let you increase your price. I think they only let you. So in some countries, they don't even let you increase your price.
I thought that it was because like the big, like, the government, right? They, in the US, they can't sort of bargain or negotiate for like a bulk lower rate in the United States, as opposed to like for instance Medicare, they can't negotiate, as opposed to in other countries where the big government basically just negotiates the lowest price it can negotiate. I thought maybe there might be something here at play that's similar. So I'm wondering if that's the case.
So, yeah, I mean, the VA, I think, can negotiate. I think is the only branch of the government that can actually negotiate drug prices right now. Medicare is unable to do so. Medicare, there's actually
What if Medicare could do that? They were allowed to negotiate a bulk low price.
Well, a lot of people I think are proponents of that. I think there's a couple of I think that theoretically it's something that would definitely be. There's actually a senator that introduced it last year from Minnesota, and it never got past committee.
Right,
and,
because my concern about I'm not of course I'm not always the biggest free market proponent, if you will, but I do have sometimes an issue with people saying, okay, let's put a cap on prices or something like that, because if you end up doing that, there's always these there always ends up being these consequences. I, however, don't think there's a consequence with haggling for the lowest price that you can have.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, Medicare represents a huge percentage of the customer base of pharma companies in general. I mean, Medicare, plus
Medicaid,
Medicaid, which are all operated under the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. They in reality are represent, I don't know how many millions of people, 50 million, I don't know, but it's a big chunk of people that they represent. So of negotiating, it would only be for that sector. In terms of private insurance can't really do anything about pricing because actually, you know, a lot of state legislatures prohibit insurance companies from flat out not covering something. They can make it less preferred, which means that they can make it more, have a higher copay, for instance, but they can't just flat out not cover it. I mean, and it's very rare do you see it, unless there's maybe like 6 or 7 alternatives out there, and then they flat out cannot cover it. But they have to have at least within a class of medicine, they have to have at least one, you know, reasonable alternative. And so
isn't that sort of like an argument to like promote like single payer health insurance? Because I mean, if you have a big ass insurance, to excuse the language I just said, but if you have like a big insurance, couldn't the insurance do the similar thing as like Medicare and just sort of like negotiate a lower price for these drugs?
Medicare could negotiate lower price for the drugs, but I don't think
No,
that
I'm
would
talking about
be
the insurance, because right now you just said that private insurances, right? All these private insurances, you can't really do anything.
correct.
With the bigger insurance, negotiate lower prices.
You mean like the private insurers can negotiate lower prices?
No. Like if it was just all like one big single payer insurance.
Well, I mean it could, but I mean we're certainly far from that. And I think you got to think about the fact of the matter is that
like no, we're not. No, we're not. We're actually not far from that. That's actually false. Because if you look at what's happening in Colorado, let's say that ballot initiative that no one's really talking about right now. Let's say that ballot initiative passes in Colorado and they have Colorado Care or whatever they're calling that thing. If you have Colorado Care, would the price of this particular drug be cheaper in Colorado as opposed to some other state or more expensive? What do you think?
the prices of drugs in Colorado.
No, the price of this particular drug, EpiPen, would it be cheaper if you have Colorado Care?
Well, they're still going to have private insurance in Colorado, right? It's going to be like a public option.
No, there would be, but it's single payer, right? I mean, it means you'd have a big insurance that would cover everything. So the private insurance would be only for like people that want to like have more insurance, right? But everybody be covered. Everybody be covered.
I don't think the price is going to be any lower necessarily. I mean, the price that people pay right now for Medicare.
I'm trying to understand why the price is so high. I don't understand why they're jacking up the price, right? I get that. But I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that you could, there is a way to lower the price, and, still benefit consumers, you know what I'm saying? Because I just can't understand why this price is being increased, but then no one can do anything about it. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's the market that we have, that's a market that Germany had until they reformed the entire system and it basically became kind of like a single payer. So Germany is interesting because they have a bunch of private insurers, right? That kind of very similar to what we have in the States. The difference is that price and reimbursement is negotiated at the national level. So all insurers operate.
Sorry. So right now, right? Okay. So let's say you live in Maine and you buy the EpiPen, right? How much does the EpiPen cost in Maine? How much has the drug been jacked up to?
$600.
Well, if I go right across the border, let's say I hop in my little car and I decide to go to Montreal. How much is it going to cost in Montreal?
$200.
So did I just? Well, why that happen? Why did I just say $400?
Because Canada has different rules on pricing. They're not. Canada because it's a single payer system, at least. So Canada is interesting. Canada has a single payer system, but they also have provincial payers. I think between provinces, prices may be different, but in general, Canadian, it's a single payer system. Prices in Canada naturally are lower than what you're seeing in the States.
People on EpiPen right now, they should potentially just go to Canada and just pick it up.
Pretty much.
That's hilarious. I mean, that's that because I was trying to figure out my question was mainly were these companies able to just jack the price up all across the world, or is it just the United States? Because that was what I was confused about.
So that's a good question. The answer is it's just the United States because in other countries, so you can still again, some countries like Germany or France is even a better example. They won't even let you jack up the price. In fact, France, I think, instituted a price freeze in all medicines that they usually
Wow.
end up extending. So if
That seems
anything, your
that's
price,
very socialist. I mean, that's like not,
I
that
mean,
is
that's what
not
they
that.
do. So prices in actually in many of the, especially like the Western European countries, not only are they not going up, they're going down. And
Wow.
it's a lot of medicines are forced to take discounts every so often. So it's
Then isn't
actually
there
like
a concern that
South
like,
Korea. South Korea, every 3 years, they have price cuts across all reimbursed medicines. For all medicines, every 3 years.
well, but what's going to happen to those companies though? I mean, when they go out of business?
Well, that's why they do what they do in the States, because in many ways that, people argue, well, if you have what you have in other countries, then R&D is going to go down even more. I mean, depends on
Yeah.
how you define R&D. I mean, I was watching the CNBC interview today with the CEO of Mylan, and she was, the guy's like, how are you going to justify to the consumers that, you have to jack up the prices, but at the end of the day, you're still getting paid $50 million as a CEO. I mean,
Well, I don't really care
that's
about the sale price as much, honestly, because the CEO is just, everyone's making a lot of money. I mean,
But that's effectively what you mean. Like when they say we need to recoup the cost of R&D, some states are now instituting price transparency legislation so that
so why?
now,
Okay. So what I was wondering with
like,
the EpiPen, right? Like, is there not? Could there be a generic EpiPen, or is that not allowed?
it is allowed. It just hasn't reached a patent expiration yet.
What if we did this, David? Here's my other potential solution or something. What if we just said, well, you know what? We as a country are interested in having medicines that are inexpensive, and we want to encourage competition. So as a result, I think right now, as far as I understand it, as far as my very limited patent knowledge is, I think you have a 20-year patent. Is that right?
From the time of patent approval, yes.
Okay, well, I just changed the law today because I got together with some of my friends in Washington. I lobbied some people, and today the law just changed. Now you only have 10 years of patent.
Well, then R&D is going to go
Sorry,
down
dude.
to the shithole because it takes about anywhere from 5 to 10 years just to get the drug through clinical trials.
You sure about that, or is that just what the companies are
No,
telling
that's
you?
true. I mean, it generally takes about 10 years or so for a drug from the time the patent is filed to the time the drug is marketed.
Well, I guess, I mean, if it's 10 years, and so so then you have no R&D and nothing good would happen.
Yeah.
But no. So there would be a cost, right? A cost benefit. So basically, the benefit would be that all these drugs immediately generic, so it'd be cheaper, correct? Generic companies would do pretty well. So there would be, I think, in that particular case, there would be some.
Generic companies are not no incentive for innovation if the manufacturer who's in.
No, I mean, they would just making a lot of money, dude, because they'll more of these medicines will be out there, so making more and more money.
What do you mean?
Because there'll be more drugs out there because there's a lot currently they have to wait for 20 years, but what if they have to wait for only 10 years? They'll be open now.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The original innovator of the product is nobody's going to have an incentive to innovate medicines if they can't even. R&D costs.
I don't really buy this argument. I'm very skeptical of this particular argument. I just feel like I think people are just saying this, but then they can't actually prove it.
So when it comes to price, that's one thing. I agree. Price does not always correspond to R&D costs, but in terms of patents, I don't think you can really do much there because, I mean, if you get rid of patents, and then
patents. I just said reduce it to 10 years. I think this has even been proposed.
Well, but that's effectively getting rid of them because, I mean, by the time the medicine is marketed, the medicine is marketed.
You need to move faster.
Medicine is marketed, and the patent has been so basically like you're going to pour in millions of dollars into R&D, let's say, and then you market the product, and by the time you market it, 5 other companies come out with the same product.
David, I still think that then you know what? I still think that this 20-year number is arbitrary. I think it's extremely arbitrary. So why like what's the problem with 15 years then? Is that 5 years or is it 10 years? That's the difference between this recouping these R&D expenses. You see what I'm saying? Like what is the difference?
Yeah.
What is like going on here?
All right.
Nobody knows.
I got to head out. It's a great topic. This is where we should start off the podcast next time. It's exactly there.
Actually, it's pretty good. I didn't even know what was going on, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, whoa, there's like all these different issues going on that are complicated.
Yes. So let's stop this. Let's be in touch, or I'll maybe give you a call right now from my phone, and I'll see what the spit out of this thing is. All right. So let me give you a call in a few minutes. Okay.
Okay, sounds great, man.